Hey, just FYI, guys, if I'm having glitchy glitchy
Hello, hello.
how's it
How's it
going?
going? Good, good.
Doing
Jinx.
well. How's everybody doing out there?
Apologies for the audio delay, guys, but we're back.
This is my fault.
You're good. Yeah, we have a giveaway at 150 likes, so get those likes going.
Yeah,
How's everyone doing today?
pump it up, guys.
Let's see, red or green in the chat. How did everyone do? Hello, hello.
Yeah, was everybody bullish uh, on war today?
Red. Ah, that's too
Red.
bad. How did you do, Johnny?
I'm up.
Nice.
I did pretty well. I was looking at that, 3-4 day high to get targeted because I'm bearish, but as we all know, if we're bearish, then it's gotta take you out first and go long before
Yeah,
we go
exactly.
short.
Right. What's up, trading for keeps? Shorting your stop loss. Nice to see you. Very well. Green this week. I hope till Saturday should be green. I hope so too. Cool. So we have a special presentation by Johnny. Do you want to tell us about what you're going to be talking about today?
Yeah. So, I wanted to talk about how I gamified my trading because, as you guys know, being a trader is hard and you got to deal with that evil side of your trading persona that makes mistakes constantly, even though you know it's wrong. And for me, investing time, energy, and effort into creating a system that can be automatically tracking my trading behavior was something that I wanted to do to maximize the amount of um, pressure I put on not making dumb mistakes. And when you have habits that get built up over time, or perhaps you need a reset, sometimes, at least in my experience, taking a different approach to it can put a whole new lens on it and make you focus on it in a way that you haven't before. And that's what I wanted to accomplish with this system. I was coming off of a huge week that I had, and then pretty much, in my trading experience, I've always experienced that after I have a really big day, a really big week, I tend to start falling off the bandwagon a little bit, and I need to go back to basics. So, in this approach to going back to basics, gaining control over my trading again, I wanted to develop this system that was based on giving me progression and experience. If any of you guys play games out there, which I've played games since I was a kid, um, you know, I wanted to build this system based off of trading habits, trading behavior throughout the week that can then, give me a kind of one line gauge on not only, how I'm doing over the week, but how I got there. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. And while I realize this probably won't resonate, going through the hassle of creating scripts that automatically track your trading and kind of gauge your performance, probably not for everybody. I think we can all, probably find common ground in having an obsessive sort of approach toward improving our behaviors. So I thought it would be kind of a lighthearted conversation to have, where I can talk about my approach, and I can talk with you guys and gather y'all's feedback on perhaps what I could change about the system or add to the system, and then just kind of chat about some of the things you guys struggle with as a trader, that maybe we could chat about and coming up with some solutions. I know everybody's going to have their own approach, but an example of one of the problems that I used to have was I would change my max daily drawdown. I would get close to it and I would go into the settings and I would change it before I hit it. And so that's the kind of behavior that, is a red flag for me and my behavior, because it's, I'm not acting like a professional. So any way that we can find to counteract the extreme measures we take to go against our system to then bring it back to balance, I think is something we probably all can have in common. So that being said, well, I'll just kind of go through what this actually is, and then I can show you some examples.
Cool.
So the system in 4 parts, a title plate.
You want to get your screen share ready?
Oh, yeah. Whoopsies. Okay. So the system in 4 parts, it's got a title plate. And if you guys are familiar with like RPGs as games, you know, you have like a level, right? And in some, like there was this game that I used to play when I was a kid. It was called Ultima Online, and it would have different sort of descriptive modifiers to whatever your level was. You could be like the honorable or dishonorable, or you could be a neophyte. So essentially what I wanted to create was kind of a one line that describes today's behavior and this week's rank. So essentially that progression across the week. And then if anybody's watching me on stream, they not only know what my P&L is, but kind of the journey that I took to get to my P&L. So I might have a positive P&L, but I might be overtrading. I might have a low win rate, and I wanted that to be reflected in the logic. So what it does is it'll track every single trade I take, and then dependent on the logic, it will give me a different title that's based on level, based on experience, but then also based on what type of trading behavior I have that day. So I'll get into some of the examples, but I essentially built an experience system. So across the week, the goal is to, you know, maintain a not only progression in the level, but also be able to see, how am I doing on the week? Am I overtrading? Do I have a low win rate, high win rate? You know, am I losing all my shorts and winning all my longs, so on and so forth. So I wanted this to be kind of I don't have to think about it, but when I glance at it, I can get an indication as to whether or not I'm following my system. And then I have a motivation to build that. And I'll talk about how gaming the system that I built is actually a good thing. Okay. So how does it work? Essentially, I keep this overlay when I'm streaming. So it's shown on my overlaid over my chart. And so you can see my progress. It computes the modifier, and I'll show you what the modifier is, but it basically tells me how I traded. And then I have my rank, which is solely dependent on my experience. But essentially looks for P&L, win rate, trade counts for the modifier. And then it'll look for different events. Like, let's say I hit my goal for the day, but then I reduce my P&L by half, for instance. That would then change my modifier. And then rank will just keep track of my experience through the week. And it's not just linear in the sense that it just goes up. So I get penalized as well. So I'll gain experience for doing good things, but then I will also lose experience if I'm doing bad, like if I'm engaging in the wrong behavior. And one of the things I like about this is creating something like this is it gave me full creativity to kind of dial in what I want to focus on. So, and I can change this at any time. For right now, it's, you know, I have a good starting point, I think, but it's being able to identify what my challenges are, maybe what I'm struggling with that month, and really putting a lens on whatever the problem is and trying to figure out how I can create the code to essentially track what that behavior is and then reward myself or penalize myself based on that behavior. So these are some of the examples of the logic I have behind it. And so like if I'm tilted, right, I have a losing streak of 3 or more. And that will, you know, obviously indicate that it's time to take a break, time to get away from the desk. And, you know, I need to really think about, you know, taking quality trades after that point. Dishonorable, profit goal hit, and then I end negative. This has happened to me way too many times. And I don't know if you guys have done this before, but, you know, maybe you're going for an extra, I'm going to do one more trade, and then you lose that trade, and it's just a downward spiral from there. I'm sure a lot of you traders can, you know, relate to that, and just you kick yourself in the ass because you didn't just stop when you should have. And maybe you even thought to yourself, I should probably just close up the charts for the day or just watch for the rest of the day. Charitable. So if I hit my profit goal and then give away more than 50% of my profits. Negative. I won't go through all these, but hopefully you guys kind of get the point. This is all kind of just going down a list of different kind of behaviors where I can identify very quickly, what the behavior was, whether it was positive, whether it was negative. If I have, two losses more, more than two losses of negative $300, I'm then reckless. If I have a net P&L of 2,500, I'm money bags. So you can see I try to have a little bit of fun with it. If I have a win rate over 70%, I'm surgical. Golden over 60%, offbeat, so on and so forth. A win rate below 30%, trigger happy. So hopefully you guys can see how this can give me an identifiable sort of indication of how I'm doing, because it's not just about, for me at least, if I'm trying to build good habits, it's not just about oversizing on a trade, hitting one trade and then patting yourself on the back because you oversized in a trade. So another one I have in here, max contracts, and I'm trading micros, so I'm vigilant if I keep my contracts under 6 contracts. So that's a motivation for me as well to not oversize. And I think I have a lot to add here, but I think I've got a pretty good start. And at the end of this, I would love to open it up to you guys to see what kind of challenges you guys deal with and what I can add to improve my system. So here, this is how the weekly XP works. So you can see it's not linear here. So it gets harder as I get to the the top levels, and I might actually increase this, although I've made it pretty difficult to hit the these top levels. And that's kind of how I want it. Like right now I'm sitting at level 5 for the week, I believe, but you can see it gets harder and harder and harder. You have to gain more XP as you go to the top of the ranks. So essentially what I've had for you guys that are curious on how I accomplish this, I have a server running on my computer. It's just a real basic script. And I'm pulling all my trade data from when I take trades, and I use NinjaTrader. You can do this, with multiple different platforms. I mean, not mine. Mine's customized to me. But if you guys are interested in doing something like this so that you could build your own trading dashboard, I mean, we've done a couple of talks on artificial intelligence, and this day and age, if you can think it, you can create it. And so I would encourage any of you guys that are want to get creative with creating a customizable solution for you, whether it's a daily dashboard. And by the way, you guys are TFD users, so you know that TFD does a great job at this already. One of the things that you can do, as in addition to what the futures desk offers, is create something that's very, very custom to you, and something that that you will adopt and that you'll use every day. That was one of the motivations for me to create something like this, is I wanted it to be hyper customizable for what I'm experiences and what I experience and what I want to improve. So it was something that I knew that if I spent the time to really, really customize it, I would invest time in it and I would abide by it and I would respect it. And that's the biggest thing for, coming up with solutions for yourself when you have these big problems in your trading. Nobody's going to know exactly what's going on in your head. Nobody's going to know exactly how to fix it. And, books like The Mental Game of Trading will do a damn good job at showing you the right path you need to go down if you subscribe to everything it's telling you need to do. And if you have a hard time subscribing to a solution that somebody else takes, which we're all traders and we got into this, this game probably because we have a little bit of a rebellious side to our personalities. So if that's you, maybe taking a different approach to some of the challenges you have could be helpful, meaning that you could create a simple, small solution. Maybe it's just a checklist for the morning or something that you can check in with on a daily basis. Maybe it gives you the daily news, red folder news drivers. Maybe you utilize AI to help you analyze your daily bias. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And what I would do, if I were you guys and you don't have coding experience or something, is just open yourself up to the possibility of creating anything you would like to create that you could find helpful. and leverage AI to do this for you. This presentation here that I did was fully done with AI. I mean, obviously I was giving it the data and all that stuff, but for me to sit here and code, because this is done through HTML, to code, the HTML to look like this would be a huge pain, but I was able to give it the data and pump this out pretty quickly. So just to go over, sorry, let me take a drink of water real quick.
Hey, Johnny, just to
Yeah.
chime in here, we have a question.
Sure.
How do I get access to the system?
Oh, it's this is something I built, custom for myself. So it's not like I built this for the masses. If anybody's interested in doing something like this, I'm happy to chat with you offline to kind of set you off on the right direction. And I got a Discord, and you guys can join the Discord and ask me whatever questions you'd like, and I'm happy to help. Because I've kind of made it my goal to stream every day and create a community where we can collaborate. And so, especially, helping new traders, because we all know trading is one of the hardest things you can do in your life. And being a new trader, trying to navigate, people that are giving good information versus bad information versus, selfish people versus people that are, willing to help, is a really tough thing. So I definitely made it one of my, missions to, when I stream, I started streaming because I wanted accountability, so that if I'm making dumb mistakes, I have to be embarrassed about it in front of people. But I would say another main goal of mine was to just be there as somebody to build a community that's helpful, that wants to help each other. We're all in this tough game trying to make money for ourselves, and it's extremely difficult. So in my mind, the more people you have that are serious about trading, that are serious about making money and serious about self-improvement, the better. So for any of you guys that are curious about making a system like this for yourself, I'm happy to help you at least set you off in the right direction.
And do you have a GUI for tracking this, or is it just text-based?
I do. I'll show you what what it looks like.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about adding more, so I'll kind of get to what it looks like, and hopefully I can show you like a live level up here if I can take a good trade. But just to go over some of the events I have, so P&L, I wanted P&L to be a part of it because obviously that's our goal, is to make P&L, but I didn't want it to be everything. So I will get rewarded with XP based on how much, my P&L will increase. It's not super heavily skewed, but when I do hit my daily goal, I do add a good amount of XP. And if I lose that goal, I reduce the amount of XP for the same amount that I gained. So some of the big ones, a 3-win streak, this actually helps me in another way that I didn't really anticipate. This 3-win streak really, when I'm thinking about getting this 3-win streak, and this is what I was talking about when I try and game the system that I created. Gaming the system might be getting a 3-win streak, because I know that I'll get 500 experience points for that. And again, this is all for, just for optics, but also for myself, making sure that I'm following my plan. So this 3-win streak, for instance, as an example of kind of gaming the system that I've created, I like getting these 3-win streaks, and I will protect my profits because of that. And an example of this would be letting a trade run without taking any profits, right? And that's definitely been a challenge of mine that I work with, that I have to work on consistently. I just had one of those today, and it ended up working out in my favor, because I'll show you on the chart what happened. But as we broke, the previous highs, we came right back down. I took that dip buy. We broke the highs again and came right back to my entry, and we ended up going up. But the point that I made a note of in my head was I should have taken profit after it hit that initial high that we created. And it was, not a part of my trading plan to not do so. So protecting those win streaks for me is a good way for me to game the system so I can gain experience, but it also takes care of an inherent issue that I'm working on as well. This 10-minute break completed rule is a huge one for me. After 2 losses within 5 minutes, wait 10 minutes. So this is a huge one, because one of my biggest challenges is getting, to the point of, if I take 2 quick losses, I'm at risk. And I know that about myself, that I could start over trading. I could start revenge trading. And so what this does is basically tracks, the timestamps of my trades. And then as long as I just keep my hands off the keyboard for 10 minutes, and 10 minutes for me is enough to reset and say, okay, if I was looking to take a dumb trade, I've at least given myself 10 minutes and I've reset. My energy levels have come down. I no longer have that cortisol and adrenaline running through my veins, and I can objectively look at the market now and take another position if I want. But what I find is most times after that 10 minutes, I tend to be a lot more selective once I've calmed down. So this one is actually a huge one. And then, I get the same negative experience if I break that 10-minute rule. So essentially, if I take those 2 quick losses and I take another one, usually this will result in me like getting that sound of leveling down, and then the visual of leveling down. And it's a reminder to stay on track. These are pretty standard here. If I hit my daily goal of hitting 1,000, I gain 1,000 XP. And then if my P&L falls below 850, excuse me, I'll get, a demerit. Weekly goal reached, weekly goal lost, same thing here. So that's kind of the basics of, how the system works. I'll show you guys how, what it looks like. But I wanted to quickly talk about, as we've been talking about, why this might seem silly. If we got serious traders out there, it might seem silly to create a system like this, like, is this guy trying to gamify trading because he doesn't take it seriously? And it's actually the opposite. I created the system because I take trading extremely seriously, and I'm willing to go to whatever links I have to fix my problems on a daily basis. And what I'm looking for is something that on a daily basis, that I engage with on a daily basis, that can keep me on track, that nudges me away from the bad habits and toward the good habits, is really what I'm looking for. The other thing is that, this is highly customized to me. And while we all share, some of these weaknesses, this system, probably because it taps into, gaming, for instance, that I've done since I was a kid, understanding exactly what it looks like, to level up, gain experience. It creates an automatic feedback loop, so I don't have to spend extra time to essentially, mark down the mistakes I'm making, mark down the successes I'm having. It automatically tracks it. So it's one less thing I have to do, but I'm still getting the feedback. And then, like I talked about earlier, gaming the system. I want to create a system to where I want to game the system so that I gain XP, because that is giving me the behavior that I want. I'm essentially reinforcing that good behavior when I'm trying to game the system, so that if I'm like, oh man, I'm going to try and do this so that I gain some XP, it actually is reinforcing good habits. And then the stopping the spiraling early. This is, historically one of my biggest challenges. And like I said, I used to go and change my daily loss limit. Keeping these spirals from happening before they happen is the most important thing for me. At the top of the list. Stop those spirals from happening. Stop the cortisol. Stop the adrenaline. Stop the fight or flight, and keep the logic. And that those breaks that I'm taking that are mandatory are really, really helpful for that. And the weekly progression, especially for people that are tuning into my stream, it's like, it's important for me to let them know this is where I am, on the week, whether I'm up or whether I'm down, but also for them to get an indication of how am I actually trading? Am I following my rules or not? And I'm considering having a monthly progression system. For now, it's weekly, but I'm considering doing a monthly. And then, it forces me to confront it. I have to stare at this. I have to, the people watching me have to look at it. So if I am, for instance, a negative, reckless peasant, as my title, they're going to see that. So now, what's next for this? I got a couple of different ideas, but, I want to add in a conditional large trade. So let's say that I have a nice P&L for the day. I got a nice cushion, and I see a really nice setup, and I want to size up on it. I want to have, I want to have ammo for that. and then I want it to track what my performance is on that one big sized up trade. I don't want to say big, but larger, so I have asymmetrical bet sizing based on, the setup I'm seeing, and only allow that once I have the cushion to be able to afford that loss. And then if I take that loss, it's probably a stop trading or back to small size. Another thing I'm considering is gaining experience beyond trading. So did I get 8 hours of sleep, no fast food, working out, and other habits that are kind of ancillary to trading, but also extremely important. And then adding directional performance controls like tracking long and versus short win rates, and applying automatic limitations when one direction degrades. So that's kind of what my thoughts are for improving the system. But I wanted to keep this pretty light and make it interactive with you guys. So I wanted to open this up to questions you guys might have, or also would love to ask you guys what challenges you're facing as a trader that you're trying to work on right now. And, maybe we can come up with some good solutions or some potential ideas for you to customize a solution.
Nice. Awesome. While we're waiting for questions, do you want to show what it actually looks like?
Yep. Let's do that. Okay. All right, so this is it over on the left side here. Let me turn my comments off over here. So you can see, let me zoom out so I can see. I'm a profitable surgical inside trader right now. So it's taking the level progression experience from the week, and then the profitable surgical inside trader means that I have above a 70% win rate. And that's for today. Profitable means I hit my goal. Inside trader is the level that I'm on. So let's see if I can, you guys were talking about a short here. Let's open it up to you guys. You guys think that this is shorting? To me, this kind of looks like we're bouncing here and we could go for these highs. So let's see if I can get a trade here. I don't love this entry. I would much rather be in down here, but if I can get a solid trade here, I can show you what it looks like when I level up. And I don't know if you guys will hear, you guys probably won't hear the audio. But let's see. I don't want to leave you guys hanging, but essentially I can pull up a video of what it looks like when I level up. Let me do that real quick. Because it has audio and it also has visual feedback. And Raj, do you know, is there a way where I can have my audio come through to the stream? Do you know?
You would have to share your screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Copy that. Let me see if I can do that. Let me get this video up for you guys. In the meantime, you guys think about questions you might have, or any challenges you guys are working on right at the moment. They're having a challenge with. Maybe we can come up with some hacks.
Yeah, we have a comment here about that actually.
Okay.
I have a 7-day loss streak, hitting my daily loss limit. I think it's because I'm too focused on hitting the boosted base hit, and maybe just not focusing on the process.
Yeah, that's a tough one, and I'll tell you why. Because having any sort of goal that you're trying to hit that's monetary can be a challenge. And I know that over here I've got my goals here. And this, for the most part, is for people to be able to keep track of how I'm doing, whether or not I'm hitting my goals. But for instance, last week, I stopped short of my weekly goal. I did not push myself. The previous week, last week, I think I ended at like 4,500 or something like that. The previous week, I ended at like 4,900 or something. And it's because I know in my head that if I push myself to hit those goals, it's going to mess me up. And if I don't hit it and I take on a red trade, it's going to, send me on a downward spiral that I potentially, won't be able to recover from. And now instead of having a green day, I'm ending red. So just to clarify, Raj, when he asked that question, and I'm looking at other stuff right now, he said that he's not able to hit the boosted base hit. And what was the challenge he had after that, in addition to that?
Basically, he's hitting his daily loss limit because he's too focused on the goal.
Mm-hmm. And Raj, I'm sure you could chime in on this as well. I would love for you to chime in too. And I've got some thoughts on it as well. But why don't you take on this question? In your experience, having that monetary goal in mind, how has it messed you up, and how have you gotten over that challenge?
Yeah, sure. So I think we're a little bit different. I see you with that monetary goal on your screen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That would mess with me psychologically. So I think it really depends on you as a trader. Some people do really well with that. Like, oh, I need to make this amount this week. But for me, that doesn't really work. What works well for me is just having a very clear understanding of my setup and just trading those setups. And then also
Yep.
understanding risk behind that setup. Like, oh, if it fails 2 times in a row, like you said, not trading it for the
Mm-hmm.
day or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Just having the risk management. But I think it depends. If you think that having the P&L on your screen is impacting you in a negative way, then take it off. I mean, you
Yep.
have the power to do that.
Yep. One thing I would say that can be extremely helpful for those types of challenges is being aware that it is an issue. And then as you start approaching, kind of start reaching on your P&L, you got to have predetermined stops that if this happens, then this. And it's got to be very, very concrete, and it's got to be, logic based. Where let's say you're approaching your boosted base hit, and you're approaching it, and so in your mind, if your boosted base hit, let's say, is $800, as you approach it, and you need to have a system in place that says, once I hit $650, here's what happens. And if you don't have that plan in place, you'll continue to do the same thing over and over and over, and it'll crush you. But the biggest part of overcoming, I think, a challenge like this is knowing what to expect, that as you approach that level, you have the potential of tilting, you have the potential to mess up all your daily progress. And do a little bit of negative visualization. What does it feel like when you're almost to your target and you blow it? Feels terrible, and you want to put it in your mind that you don't want to do that. And I know that there's some mixed feelings on negative visualization, but the science has proven that negative visualization is a really good way to keep you on track to hitting your goals, as opposed to just positive visualization. So just to summarize, to help you with that issue, make sure you know what to expect and you have a system in place. It's all about building systems so that you can control and put bumpers in place with your behavior. So know what to expect. If this happens, if I hit 600, if I hit 500, and I know that that can also create a problem in itself, but you've got to have some sort of gauge on what your progress is and where the line is where you start getting into the risk territory of going on tilt. And then you have a system in place. And of course, it takes discipline to follow that. Or in the case, in some instances, depending on the platform you're using, you could have a trailing daily stop loss that locks you out of the platform. So for instance, with the futures desk, you could have potentially a trailing stop loss that's your max daily loss. So let's say it trails you $250 or $300, so that as you're rising in P&L, you just have a concrete stop if you start falling from that. So that is, a clear cut, concrete. You cannot do anything about that. If you drop $250, it will lock you out of the platform. That's a great solution. But obviously the ultimate solution is to build a system where you're combining the logic you're putting in place with your discipline, as opposed to just having software stop you out. But I do understand, the software stopping you out is way better than not having a stop.
Yeah, it's a great answer. We have a question here. On average, how many transactions do you make per day?
I tend to take Let me see. Let me see. I can actually pull up what I've done today. So I built a little P&L thing, but on average, it's probably like 20, maybe 10 to 20. Sometimes less. I mean, like yesterday, I was taking some losses, and so it was probably around 10 yesterday. Maybe 7, but I tend to take a lot of break evens. And I allow myself with sizing for it to be okay to take either break evens or small losses. Sorry, let me pull this up and we'll go through like the trades that I took today, or at least the P&L real quick. So just so you guys know, I created a little script that tracks, I already have my trades that are tracked, and I'm starting to put together like a little dashboard that, will give me a nice trade review at the end of the day. Again, the futures desk has a good system for this, but I have, I like doing hard work to customize stuff for myself. Okay, so here is what my day looked like, and keep in mind I've got 5 accounts that I'm trading here too. So, like if you're looking at per account, these are, divide this number by 5. I took 17 trades. So divide that by 5, about 3 trades per account is what I did. We got some more questions. And by the way, this is this is a good day. I'm not trading like this every day. This is a good curve for today.
Nice.
We
have a comment here.
Mm-hmm.
Down to my last $60 of drawdown on my TFD live account. Oh no. How should I approach it? Should I try to save it slowly or withdraw what I can and start over with a new eval?
I do everything I can to save accounts. When you get down to $60, it gets very, very difficult. But the only way that I know how to get out of those kinds of that kind of drawdown is by going small and taking it slow. So if I would think about it like this: you got $60, see if you can double it every day. If you can take that 60, turn it into 120, go 120 until you're out of that drawdown. After you got 120, see if you can do 240, and then probably stop and start slowing down and reevaluating. But create some sort of structure that will give you the opportunity to get out of it without over leveraging. I would say over leveraging is going to be very difficult to try and get out if you're trading normal size. So I mean, I would be trading 1 micro in that situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tricky situation regardless. I think at that point you just need to stop thinking about the dollar value and just take one good trade a day, I guess.
Yeah, and take it slow. Like trying to, when you're in that kind of drawdown, it's very easy just to say, screw it. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like when I level up here. So on this video, let's see. Okay. Man. Come on now.
It's a powerful video.
Like I'm going from a charitable noob here. Dang, what the heck's going on? Let me try and reload this. Sorry, guys. Feel free to keep thinking of some questions or challenges you guys are having right now.
How do you find your daily levels?
All right. That is a good question. It's a deep one. Let me show this real quick, and then I'll get into that. Fast forwarding is what messed me up before. So maybe I should just let it play. I might need to turn the sound off because I have licensed music in here. It might mess you up, Raj.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, guys. If you guys want to see what it looks like when I level up, I don't want to get this video flagged for having licensed music in it. But if you go to my, actually, I can do it without sound. Let me refresh it. I'll do it without sound. Unfortunately, but I'll have to do it without sound. I have sound effects and everything.
There's a question if you want to take it in the meantime.
Yeah, let's do it.
What do you do with the glass ceiling? Heard someone call it that when you get close to finishing an account or a goal and you just go into drawdown, like you overrush it.
Yeah, I would say very, very similar to what I was talking about before. You gotta have a system in place. Like, what happens when I get close to my goal? And I've had some people in the stream here, recently that have run into this problem, just like I have, where you're about to get a payout, you're about to, pass your eval, and you get $200 away, $100 away, and you blow it. And that's happened to me many times. And what's helped me is to know that it's a problem. So you've identified that it's a problem for you. Now you got to identify some sort of system that keeps you honest to understanding that's a potential issue. So when you're approaching that, you got to say, okay, I'm $200 away from this payout. I'm $200 away from passing these eval. If I take one losing trade for today, I got to be done, because I know that it's a huge problem for me, and I'll try it again tomorrow. Okay, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get that video to work. Maybe I can take a live trade and get it, show you guys. But in the meantime, how do I pick my daily levels? So we did an AI video, how, explaining how I use AI and data to create daily levels. I mean, the daily levels actually really come from my footprint data. So I'm constantly looking at this, and this is, if you guys aren't familiar with order flow, this is, looking inside the candlesticks and seeing, where is volume really coming in aggressive and where is it passive? Where do we have limit sellers, limit buyers, and where do we have buyers that are really, really pushing this price up? And so if you look at over here, you'll see these highlighted numbers, and these are imbalances where the aggressive volume on the buy side is over 3 times the volume on the sell side over here on the bid. So I download this data with a script every day, and it creates a master level sheet for me. And through that master level sheet, I have a database of key levels. Like right here, for instance, we have hard selling right here. We have hard buying right here. I'm looking at historical point of controls, historical value areas, all the areas where we've had potential reactions or a lot of volume. And so I have a huge database that I use that tracks all the historical key levels, and I can actually pull that up for you guys. But essentially, that's what I do. And then I have a script that will overlay it on my charts as well. I'm kind of in the middle of adding a couple of different things to that script, but essentially that's where I get my key levels from. But in addition to that, like if I'm not thinking about the historical data that I'm gathering, I like getting 50% ranges. So for instance, 50% pullbacks. If we have a daily range, I like at least paying attention to that 50% mark, because as you can see, you can tend to have reactions at that 50%. Here we had a breakout above that 50%. I like looking at, previous week and previous day high and lows. I like looking at the value area of the volume profile. I like paying attention to the point of control. I have VWAP on my chart, and then intraday, I'm looking for levels to be created off of here. You can see there's a lot of volume, that 117 contracts that was accumulated here at 25,164. So that tells me sellers got aggressive here, but there was also a passive buyer here. And now that we're underneath this passive buyer, you know, you give it a little bit of leeway, but you might expect this to potentially sell off down here, that you're, now that you're below here, that this passive buyer wasn't able to hold up price. So I'm looking at this kind of information intraday, and I'm getting levels from these footprint charts, and then I'm noting them. So if you scroll back and you say, okay, this would be a key level here, this would be a key level here, this would be a key level here. So on a very sort of granular level, I'm looking for to create boundaries with these key levels. And then if we break below this key level here, for instance, where buyers got aggressive, I might anticipate a pullback. And now I'm looking for the next level down, which would potentially be down here. Is this passive buyer going to hold price if we end up dropping, you know, here? So that's hope that answers your question. That's how I derive my levels.
Cool. Someone said, "Wow, you're a data scientist, trader."
I look at a lot of data, but I would say I lean a lot on, again, goes back to, like, if you can think it, you can create it now. And so while my AI, companions help me create scripts, those scripts, I can use them on an automated basis to really reduce the friction you get from trying to capture and analyze a lot of data. So, and if you guys are interested in getting into using AI for this kind of stuff, I would probably recommend you start by watching the old stream that we did, introducing AI and how I use AI. But essentially, what you want to do is you want to make sure that if you are utilizing AI, it has a data backbone that's grounded in real data, not just asking for, AI's opinion on stuff. So that's the start of it for me. And making sure that I get good analysis is making sure I have solid data going in. So I think I was going to show you guys the data that I have, or the like kind of the master sheet I have, and it's pretty dense. And I also create a sheet out of that. So maybe it would be better to show you guys the result.
Yeah, that goes on to the next question. What AI do you use?
Claude and ChatGPT.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me go to my downloads. I'll show you guys the result of it. That'll probably be better than showing you a bunch of levels. But essentially what I do is I gather those levels, and then I have my script score them. So for instance, if the same level is hit over and over and over, I might score it up for it being a relevant level. But if we don't have a good reaction out of it, like a strong momentum move out of it, it'll reduce that score. So essentially, I'm looking at all the levels over the past few months, and I'm rating them, grading them, and saying, where's price today and what's relevant to me around here based on that score that I give it. Sorry, guys, I'm going to pull up this sheet for you guys, and then we can move on.
Yep. In the meantime, the giveaway link is pinned in the comments there. We're going to start spinning in a few minutes.
Awesome. So this is the result of all that data, coming together. I put this sheet together in the morning as kind of a map, a battle map, I like to call it, for the day. So this is, all the levels being analyzed and saying, here's what happened in the previous regular trading session. Here is what cumulative volume delta did. Here's the overnight profile, overnight high, overnight low, key structural levels. All this is based on a massive amount of data. And then I have, a violent reaction map. These levels could get violent, could have big reactions. And then I have a risk map. And this I like to key in on this a lot. So for instance, acceptance above 24,758, demand failed, liquidation risk to 24,724, no longs. Look for pullback shorts until reclaimed. It gives me kind of a set of if-then instructions to follow as guidelines. If we break through this level, it's not likely that that bounces are gonna work. Stop fading, shift to pullback longs, trade with initiative, use pullbacks to edge zones, trade smaller, so on and so forth. Then I got my high impact news on here. And then I have 3 potential setups that are based on all these levels that are created. And then game plan scenarios, similar to the risk map as well. Bull continuation, we get acceptance above 25,131 and holds, stop fading, pullback, so on and so forth. So this is the result of all that data that I'm gathering.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
We have kind of a longer question, a 2-part question here.
Okay.
Been trading for over 10 years, consistent for over 4, but true consistency came about 6 months ago.
Nice.
As well with evals, I feel like I'm wasting my time, so I rushed through them, which often works, but sometimes this carries into the funded account. How do I stop this?
Man, what a great question. And you got more experience in the markets than I do, so I'll give it my best shot. I've been trading for about 8 years, on and off though. So I've had different sprints in my trading career where I was really hyper focused, and then I got into other things in my career and then came back to trading. But I've had this very, very same conversation with people in my stream and with myself. I can see both ways. One, where once you have a group of funded accounts, your goal is to maintain that number of funded accounts, and so you add in evaluations and you trade them lightly, just like you trade your funded accounts. Now, I also understand the frustration in spending time in evaluations, but you've got to weigh the good with the bad, because if you're trading evaluations just to pass them, it's going to likely cost you more money. So you have to be okay with, losing money on those evaluations to get them to the funded stage. The second thing is exactly what you're talking about, is you carry over bad habits. And this goes to, okay, what is your philosophy on these evaluations? If you find that if you have that feeling that you're wasting time on the evaluation, you either have to shift your mindset to where you don't feel like you're wasting time. You're looking at it as an investment, and you're going to trade it exactly the same as you trade your other accounts, because that's the behavior you want to instill. Or you're thinking it's a waste of time. I don't like the idea of taking a lot of time on these evaluations, so I want to get it over with and get it done. In which case, I would recommend only take your best setups on those accounts. And if you're trying to get it passed quickly, I would say be a lot more strict on not only the setups you take, but the amount of trades you take on it. Because we all know that if you're trading larger size, trying to pass an eval or whatever the case may be, the reason for you trading larger size, that can really go south quickly. So you got to have additional structure around your trading, because you're trading larger size. So when you're trading in a funded account, you're treating it differently. You have different risk management. And if you have a different set of rules for your eval, you have to treat it like that. It's a completely different way of trading. Maybe it's you take 1 trade a day on it. And if that trade doesn't work out, you stop. It's not the right conditions for that setup, and you wait for the next time it shows up. And that way you're being very selective with it. But at the same time, you're not spending as much energy on that account, and you can get it passed quickly. You can also build a calculator, for instance, that, looks at your drawdown, looks at, for instance, your win rate with this particular setup, and you're only looking for this setup, you're sizing in accordingly, and it takes your drawdown into consideration, and you're looking to maximize the amount of profit you can get off of this based on your win rate and your typical take profit. And maybe having something structured like that will keep you on track, but totally understand where you're coming from. Trading an eval to get it passed, then going into the funded account can bring in bad behavior. I think the number one priority is to make sure that you have good behavior going through. So if you can't keep good behavior going through your funded account, then you might have to just be okay with rotating in evaluations and trading them exactly the same as your funded account. At least, on the upside, if you're doing something like that, when you have funded accounts, it's not like you have this pressure to quickly pass those evals. It's like, I'm going to keep evals on the back burner, and I can pass them slowly. And it doesn't have that sort of antsy sort of characteristic to trying to pass it, where you're trying to pass it in a rush. If it's on the back burner, you have funded accounts, then it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, it's a good answer. Cool. Let's go to the giveaway.
Cool.
So
Let's do
we're
it.
going to spin for two $200 TFD credits, and I'm going to let you announce the names.
Cool. Oh, dang. I lost the window. Hang on. Sorry, man. Where the heck did the window go? Oh, man, Raj, I'm going to have you take this name. I lost the window. Sorry, man.
I don't know if it's Mikel Pie. I'm sorry if I said that wrong.
There we go. I'm back. Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. How do you think you say this?
Man, I was gonna guess Michael. I know that's not how Michael is spelled, but either Michelle or Michael, or I don't know. Mikel, is that a thing?
That's what I said. Congratulations.
Ozempic is pronounced Michael Pie. It's like Michelle. Copy.
That's all you.
TM Papa Babakar. Congratulations. And please correct me if I said that incorrectly, which I'm sure I did.
Congratulations. Cool. Well, thanks for hopping on, Johnny.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Find you if they have any more questions.
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel, but I don't post content. Really, when I'm done streaming, it's not my thing to, create content after I'm done trading. So my big focus right now is on my streaming, just focusing on my trading. So you can find me on Twitch, TradeOrDieX, just like you see here in the bottom left-hand corner. I live stream every day, and then, feel free to, hop in there or join, my Discord if you want to, hang out and talk trading. But appreciate you guys tuning in, and appreciate you, the Futures Desk, and look forward to the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.